This video is sponsored by the upcoming expansion in the Dungeon Dudes campaign setting, Monsters of Drakenheim. The dudes are kicking my butt when it comes to Drakenheim stuff, and this book has like 150 monsters, which means it'll be well over 300 pages of genius. Makes Stibbles look so friggin' tiny. And this is book 3. I'm honestly a little proud to be in the same space as these guys. The dudes in Ghostfire are launching this ridiculously enormous book on the 26th of March, but if you join the Discord before launch, you get a free set of resin dice added to your pledge. In addition to those monsters, ranging from challenge rating 1 to unchallengeable, Monty and Kelly are bringing in deadly conditions for tactical combat, as well as crafting for monster parts and awesome creature layers. Like, this book is gonna be... Give me the book.
Give me that. Give me that.
Actually, I want those dice too. Here's the video. Welcome to a video about Sigil, the most enigmatic and infinite location D&D has ever conceived, with countless impossible things happening in every corner of the settlement every couple of hours. Yes, I know it's spelled like Sigil, but the place is called Sigil, and I hate it because I recorded this video like a week ago, and I had to change 14 different mentions of the city. Why did they do that? Since Sigil is very literally the land of everything everywhere all at once, it's shaped like a bagel.
A bagel.
Or a blender donut, depending on who you ask. The way this place is consistently described, it feels like something out of my childhood dreams, where I always wanted the world to stretch around and above me with weird creatures and buildings everywhere you look. The Forgotten Realms multiverse works like a wheel, with inner and outer rings connected by sort of spokes, slowly melding together the further you go inward. Now you'd think, because it's here and has everything, the middle is just us, the material plane. But hidden behind the wheel, sort of like the axle that spins the whole thing, is a stupid big tower in the outlands with a magic donut floating on top. That donut is the sprawling city of Sigil, the ultimate neutral territory. How does it retain and defend ultimate neutrality? The Radiant Citadel thought you could do it with a bunch of politicians and peer pressure, but for the City of Doors, it's very simple. The Lady of Pain. The single coolest entity in all of D&D, the Lady of Pain is like an anti-god. She possibly is the antithesis of morality, or good or bad, and has more power in this city than any other god, to the point where gods are banished from Sigil. As a silly little mortal, or possibly anything stronger, seeing her is far from a blessing, talking to her is always a mistake, and trying to attack, overthrow, or just as bad, worship her is possibly one of the worst choices any single living creature could attempt in any given lifespan. There was a god that tried to kill her once named Eoskar. You can find his colossal corpse adrift in the astral plane. If a creature sees her floating around in her perfect city and shouts, "Nice cans, lady," they would get flayed alive in a couple seconds by her brief gaze. If you make an attack roll against her or a quiet prayer for her, she teleports behind you and drags your ass to that place Squidward went for the rest of your now immortal life. No escape, no tricks, no magic, no help from gods, just time and pain. So yeah, stay away from pain, it's that simple. I almost forgot to mention the Dabus, or Dabus, who are servants of the lady. They're bizarre natives to the city who speak in floating hieroglyphs, repair the city, and enforce unspoken laws. Their speech is ridiculous. My favorite part of the 5e book describes Sigil as the backstage of the D&D multiverse. This is where angels and demons and devils and fairies all clock out from clawing each other's necks.
You've been working too hard, Ralph. Why don't you take tomorrow off?
And just have a beer at a pub in Sigil served up by a genie. That's literal nonsense, but it's such a cool place to adventure through. The city of Sigil is divided into wards and factions, all of which are insanely big and impossibly diverse. I really don't want to cover a whole bunch of factions, so let's just race through it. We have god-hating skeptics, nihilistic clerics, destructive anarchists, stupid insufferable assholes, that part of the spectrum that makes you good at math, New Age philosophy anarchists, self-appointed police, Tumblr users who like death too much, the guys called mercy killers, Taoist monks who invent stuff, hedonists, and adrenaline junkies. That's it. Let's go through the wards. Starting from the top, we have the ladies' ward. Sadly, it's not where a bunch of babes hang out with their boobies and stuff waiting for kisses from little goblins like us. I sure wish it was. It's just a crazy high society stinkhole with gambling houses, temples for worship, the high courts where you can commission these guys to kill you, and an armory with the same budget as America's, so it's got everything. Moving a little further down, we've got the Clerk's Ward. It's full of bureaucracy and shit that sucks, so let's move on. While editing, I found out about an old game called Torment that's a whole adventure in Sigil, and it's touted as one of the most philosophical games ever written, which is doubly cool, and I will be playing it right after this. But The Spire reminds me of another philosophical game. Gonna throw in an extra little thing here. I'm 4 hours into the game, and it feels like old-timey Baldur's Gate.
Looks like my skills have increased.
Your first friend is actually Mort, and he's really horny for zombies. But at one point I heard him say, this is probably the worst place we could be in Sigil at the worst time. And that's when I remembered you pronounce it that way. If you're watching this on the upload day, I learned this yesterday. The main place most adventurers would end up first is probably the Market Ward, a sprawling world of its own where every tabletop, mom-and-pop shop, or slop trough is likely to draw your attention. Angels selling holy books, fire giants forging masterworks, this thing selling this stuff, Steve at his famous poop house where he sells custom-made poop. Anything and everything is somewhere in Sigil. It's so easy to get lost in here you almost have to hire a personal guide. You're also probably gonna want one of those floating encyclopedias called a Mimir, and then hire a tout to do your shopping for you. And a fourth guide to find a portal that'll get you back home. He says we gotta go through that one. Also, there's a bank, and in the art, there's a beholder going to the bank. That's funny. I feel like a little kid sitting in your lap with a picture book just pointing out stuff that I like. Just below the fun is the Hive Ward and the Lower Ward. Two separate areas that feel pretty close together, because they are. The Hive consists of scum and villainy, dealing in morally questionable goods you might not find in the market, which you'll probably struggle to pay for since that guy picked your pocket when we got here. There's a morgue here also. The Lower Ward is touched by the lower planes, with a bajillion portals to stinky places surrounding its catacombs and factories and that huge forge over there. It's also home to the Ditch. Not exactly a tourist location, the Ditch is Sigil's only lake and oh, there's a dead guy on the shore. Let's go. At the very bottom of Sigil's belly is Under Sigil. This is where all the failed factions, products, nations, and structures get thrown away. Like a pseudo Lost and Found, without the found part. Hey, why is Steve here? Oh no. I do like a place in Under Sigil called Nowhere, where all the loser factions kind of scramble around and they have funny themes. But let's go back up. I forgot to mention, but the whole place around the donut pillar is called the Outlands, and it's a whole other cool area that feels kind of like Mario Odyssey levels got squished together. Sigil is an awesome, awesome city that you can throw your players into literally whenever you want. Since it's home to nearly infinite portals, that kinda implies one can open to Sigil at any point, or someone can come find the party from Sigil and ask for help. As long as you don't do anything grand enough to piss off the Lady of Pain, you could practically wage war in the streets with any number of nonsense motley monsters. While we've been here, I made friends with a Baldur, that guy that sells the stuff, and also my little mouse friend came back. We're gonna go get blasted in the Hive, maybe partake in some scum and villainy. See you around, square. Hey you! Twisted Taverns is officially in the retail pool now. Ghostfire has distributors for local game shops, so if you want to support local and also Ghostfire and also me, and you want the physical copy in your hands like today, go look around for it. Or, I don't know, call ahead so they know people want it. Okay, that's it, you're free to go.